Okay, looks like we are live on Facebook, and we'll get started here in about a minute, guys. So thanks for being here. Hi, Darlene. And Darlene and Joy, would you let me know if you can hear me okay? Okay, cool. Joy said yes from downstairs, so I know you can hear me. Hi, Jennifer. We're going to start here in less than a minute. Thanks for being on. Good. Thank you, Darlene. Cool. Well, we'll have more people hop on here. Hey, Rich. All right. So, good evening. Dave DeBerardinis here. It is top of the hour, just at 7 o'clock here on the East Coast, Monday, Labor Day. For those of you who are taking time out of your Labor Day, thank you for being here. I totally appreciate it. We've got so many amazing things happening right now with the company that I had to get on here and share with you. Okay, so we're going to run this call or this live, I don't know, it's going to go 20, 30 minutes. We may go longer if you have questions and like that, but good, thank you. You can hear me fine, thanks. So, thanks, Rich. Here's where I want to start. Number one, the tie, the red tie and the jacket and all that, I'll get to that in a minute, okay? But I'm going to start with a few things today. Today I want to talk to you about systems and dreams. Systems and dreams. Now, most of you know that many of us just came back from a retreat, a training out in LA with our main investor. He goes by the name Chairman Joe. It's Joe Chow, I believe it's pronounced Z-H-O-U. This guy's incredibly successful. I found him very humble, very clean, and his heart was really wanting to share and to help and like that. Hey, Stephanie. So we had a few minutes to chat with him one-on-one, actually three-on-one, because we had Steinway there interpreting. But just our whole take, if you saw any of my videos from the event, you've got a somewhat of a better sense of what we went through and what we started learning there, okay? And so let me just recap really quickly as it just occurs to me that maybe some of you haven't seen that. Number one, the first 2 days, and it was only 2 days, but the first day they talked about the word systems. And I was really expecting to hear a lot about exactly what are we going to say to somebody, or how do we get somebody started, and that's all part of it. But what really impacted me the most on Monday was systems. Really, for me, stood for the word culture. How do you develop a certain culture? You know, everything has a culture, whether it's a church you belong to, whether it's a gym you go to, your family has its own culture, but everything has a culture. And there's something about establishing a culture in a company, in an organization, when you have more than one person, that begins to create a synergy. And so really day one for me was all about beginning to understand, and I say beginning on purpose because I don't have that all figured out, but beginning to understand what it is about culture that actually drives success. And what is it about a culture that has people do the same things and do it on a consistent basis that actually builds your business in a very quick way, where maybe the individual can't be perfect, but a team can be perfect. So I'm going to chat about systems first. So that was day one for me. Day two got into more of the nuts and bolts, all the training pieces and what are we going to say to somebody and how we're going to say it. But it all really came together and meshed with a culture, with a system, with a way of presenting. And I'm going to share with you some ideas here in the next 10, 15 minutes that's going to help highlight what I mean by that, in that we have systems all around us right now. Okay, so, and I'll talk about the tie here in a minute too. So, number one, let's talk about systems. One of the first systems we all experience every day are franchises, right? McDonald's franchise. There's Planet Fitness, the workout place franchise. Great Clips, Taco Bell, Dunkin' Donuts, one of my favorite places on the planet. Do you know what it costs to start a franchise? Do you have any idea? Hey, Laurie, do you have any idea what it costs to start a franchise? The McDonald's franchise, you're going to need 1 to 2.2 million just to open the doors, and that's not your operating capital. They're going to expect you to have another 2 to 3 million in liquid funds to be able to run the show. Planet Fitness, 700,000 to 3.8 million to open up a Planet Fitness. And they're only charging $10 a person. You know, at Planet Fitness, you needed to have 3 million total net worth and 1.5 million in liquid assets to get it up and running. Now they produce, the average Planet Fitness produces about $675,000 in profits per year, okay? But why do people pay that? Why are people paying such huge money, even for a Dunkin' Donuts? Jiffy Lube's another one. I walked into Jiffy Lube, I always go to Jiffy Lube, and someone greets you, opens your car door and says, "Hi sir, my name is," and we're glad, how can we assist you today? And you tell them, and they say, well, we'd like to please sit down in our air-conditioned waiting room, and they walk over and they open the door for you, and they do it every time. Now, why would somebody on a Jiffy Lube pay $200,000 to $300,000 to open up a Jiffy Lube franchise? What is it about a franchise that has people willing to put in a ton of money, sign a note, and it takes 4 to 6 years to pay that back before you really start seeing some real income? Why do they do that? Biggest reason that franchises sell is because they have a system. They have a system. When you go into McDonald's, is everybody dressed the same? Yeah. Maybe the manager's dressed a little different, but everybody's the same. Thank you, Stephanie. Franchises equals consistency or a culture. Yeah. When I go to Planet Fitness, they're all dressed the same. Every Planet Fitness I go to, I was down in Philadelphia last week with my folks, and I went into Planet Fitness, and all their machines are purple and with black covered seats, and they have the same kind of clock and the same attitude, and you're not supposed to drop weights, and they don't let women wear these hot tops and all that kind of stuff, because they have a culture, right? They have a culture, and they've established that culture. And when I walk in there, I expect it to look the way as the Planet Fitness does right down the street from us here. And so the guy here in town who built 2 Planet Fitnesses probably had to put $1 million or $2 million into building them, and he has a chunk of the business right here. He did it because they had systems in place. In fact, franchises sell that concept of the system. We're going to take everything, it's turnkey. You don't have to figure it out, like I did in real estate, like I did when I opened up my aircraft sales business. Nobody was there to show me. I was excited about flying airplanes. I found a financial backer, and I opened with a little over $1 million line of credit. But I was figuring it out from day one. It was hard. There wasn't a system in place. I didn't know how to negotiate a plane. I didn't know how to talk to a mechanic to get it fixed. I didn't know, it was figuring it out the hard way. The one way you can learn something the fastest is to go with somebody who's already done it, who already has a system, like a franchise. Now, I don't know anybody on the team. There may be a couple of you out of 12,000 people. I don't know anybody that's got 200,000 to 2 or 3 million sitting around to be able to open up a franchise. As a matter of fact, we know that network marketing is actually a better way. It's a way for the average person to come in, put in some money, right? Ideally, somewhere between $500 and about $3,000. Not just to buy that initial pack of product, but to have money to start marketing your business. This is a business. This isn't a hobby, right? Businesses make you money. Hobbies lose your money, okay? So you want to come in and create a business. Well, what if you were to follow somebody that already had a system in place? Just like a franchise, but they weren't charging you $300,000, $500,000, $1.6 million to be able to put their sign on your building, right? And start making some money down the road. What if you had the opportunity to follow somebody else who's already created a $1 billion business 3 times over, who has a system, and I'm going to talk about this system for a minute. Would that make your growth process, your learning curve, go distinctly faster? Well, yeah, it absolutely would. By the way, let's get back to McDonald's, because I want to share something that most of you probably don't know. When the chief financial officer, this is back, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s, was at Harvard Business School and talking to these graduate students and very intelligent people at Harvard, right? And he said, "What business is McDonald's in?" And they all kind of snickered and said, "You're in the hamburger business." right? And he said, well, not really. We're not really in the hamburger business. And they were a bit dumbfounded. So let me ask you a question. Where are McDonald's stores located? In most towns, they're on one of the most desirable pieces of real estate in that town. They're on the corner. They're on usually a really high traffic corner, aren't they? And then a year or so later, you'll see Burger King go across the street in that corner, and you'll see Wendy's go in the other corner because there's already traffic there. And the CFO, the chief financial officer for McDonald's, told these Harvard grads, hey guys, McDonald's is not in the hamburger business, we're in the real estate business. And they're the number one owner of real estate probably on the planet. In fact, a few years back, they started going to their franchisees, buying the store and the land back, and then leasing it back to them. They want the real estate. Now, you probably have somebody else in town that makes a better hamburger than McDonald's, right? Think of somebody in your town that makes a hamburger. You know, we got these local little shacks around here in Vermont that make phenomenal hamburgers, right? And McDonald's, their hamburgers are anywhere from sub-average to average. But they own more real estate. And they set it up with teenagers. The original concept was to have one manager, a couple of assistant managers, adults, and the rest of them in the afternoon and weekends were going to be kids, teenagers looking to earn extra money. And during the day, it was stay-at-home moms who now could go out and earn a little bit of money while their kids were at school. And so they had this concept and a system that everything was laid out, A, B, C, D. How you make the fries. You pour this many fries in, you put it in, you hit a button. When it dings, you take it out. They set up a system, and you go anywhere in this country and anywhere in the world, and it's going to look the same. The same thing with Planet Fitness, the same thing with Jiffy Lube, the same thing with anything that has a system tied to it. And the reason most franchises are, their franchisees are 95% successful is because they have a system. So hopefully I've opened your mind to systems. You see them all day. You see them every day. Driving down the road, you go by, I don't know how many franchises and how many systems that are out there. Well, the reality in this industry is there are very few companies that understand that it's a system. Most companies' system is to send you out and say, you just signed up, congratulations, you spent $1,000 and bought our pack, make a list of your 200 closest people that you know and start calling them. And then when you call them, connect them with your upline, right? And you're going to have business. And there's no more system to it than that. I mean, really, look at it. There's no more system than that. What if you had a system in this industry? Has anybody had a system in this industry? Well, if you saw my live, I guess I did it yesterday. Was that Sunday? Yeah, yesterday, Sunday morning at around 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock. I had done some research on a man named Dexter Yeager. Dexter Yeager was one of the top people with Amway. You've heard of Amway, been around for 60 some years. He developed a system many, many years ago. And he was out of Rome, New York. He moved his family down to Charlotte. And he started learning this business. And he said, we have to systematize this. He actually took his kids out of school, had them come home. And what he started doing, he was recording ideas and positive self-help and how to create and change your belief systems, how to do the business. And he was making these little cassette tapes. And he would have his kids, so he'd make these audios, and his kids, and he had machines down in his basement, they would copy those onto 20 at a time, put them in an envelope, send them, put them in a, make 20 more, that's what they did. And he started systemizing the MLM industry, and by doing that, 40 years later, now he's passed away at the beginning of 2019, January 7th, I think, and he passed away, but his organization is still doing $7 million a year of income, his personal income to he and his wife, Bertie. Now, maybe just the kids, I don't know. So how is that so consistent? Because a lot of in the industry, and many of you were making good money, then it dropped, and then what do? And there's no system in there. You're doing it like Joy and I have, and that is we're kind of winging it, right? We're kind of winging it. So how do we create a system? Well, Dexter Yeager did that with Amway. He is in the top, still, his organization over the last 30 years, his personal income to he and his family in that was about $460 million, okay? By developing a system. And what were they selling? They were selling, basically started out with soap. LOC, it was their soap. And they sold you if you wanted to do the business, you had to buy enough to fill up at least half your garage. My folks had got into it years ago, so I saw some of that. They never had a system. They never followed a system, and so within a few months to a year, they were out of it and trying to get rid of the soap, right? Like most people in this industry, in any company. So what if you had a system? Well, 25 years ago, our chairman, Joe Chow, he goes by the name Chairman Joe. He's a nice guy. He's probably, have you seen pictures? He's probably about this high, 45 years old. He was 20 when he got into the business, had no idea what he was doing. He joined Amway there in China, and he did horrible for the first 5 years. He didn't have a system. He came upon Dexter Yeager's system and said, this has got to be the way to do it. And once he started learning and teaching a system and having his team follow a system, he started becoming successful. Now he went from there over to Nu Skin. His Nu Skin was doing, of all their business around the world, 32% of their income was coming from China. Joe had 80-90% of that. That was his organization below him. So he was doing about, if you look at the numbers for the year, his organization alone was generating about $225 million a year for Nu Skin, which means Joe at that time was making somewhere about $2 million a month, is my best estimate, okay? They asked him, he went to the Nu Skin and said, we do things different in China. Can we change part of the comp plan and all that? And they said, no, we're not going to change for one company or country. And he said, through an interpreter, then I'll quit. And they're like, you're not going to quit. You're making too much money. Within a few months, he had quit and started something else, and actually started working for a gentleman making a feminine hygiene product. And he said, look, I can distribute this for you. Why don't you just make it? I'll take care of creating the stream and the because he had a system, and you take care of making sure my people are paid and your manufacturing and all that. And he blew that company up to over $1 billion, and which was fantastic. He left there and started his own company called JM. And he employed this system again. And it's basically, guys, he got this through the Dexter Yeager, and I'm going to show you some pieces that are similar. And he went and started this company called JM, and it went to $2 billion within 5 years, which set a record in the network marketing direct sales industry, okay? So that's exciting. So number one, when you see somebody do it once, and that's one of the jokes in our industry, the one-hit wonders, right? Like a band that came out and did one hit. The guy who wrote American Pie all those years ago is the only song you ever heard him do, you know? But for this gentleman to come out and do it 3 times, once as a distributor at $1 billion, once as a executive with his company as $1 billion, and then once in his own company, is pretty amazing. I'm going to share with you just a minute. I did some research on Dexter Yeager, and if you want to do that, check it out, okay? Let's see, I'm just going to fan through here, and hey, Roxy, Reggie, hey, Reggie, looking great. Yeah, I tell you what, it's a new culture, brother. So, cool. So, I just took them all off of there. So this was, I did some research on Dexter Yeager and his principles, right? And by the way, so this system coming back to the United States, Joe didn't invent it. He got it from Dexter Yeager here in the States, so it's coming back to the United States. Joe's tweaked it. It's a few years later than when Dexter developed it. But he talks about 11 principles: loyalty to your company, loyalty to your team, and like that. Making a decision to stay with something. We guaranteed and promised Chairman Joe, that we'd be here 5 years. There's something about planting your flag in the sand. And I know a lot of times people, same like with relationships, and Joy and I said this for years. We were together for like 8-9 years before we got married. And we're like, what's the big deal? We're in our 50s. We're not going to mess up the kids too much more. They're already in their late 20s, 30s. And, but there was something about making that commitment to say we're in it now together for sure, for real, from now on, that changed the entire complexion. It's the same thing here. When we said we're here for 5 years, we meant we're here for 5 years. Because there is a certain amount of time that it takes to compound, to start building, to start growing. Okay? So that is what we told them. So the ability to make sacrifices. I mean, if someone says to you, that same thing, this is Dexter Yeager, and it's really part of our culture here at the new ViiVa and the new V system training that's going to be in place. Making sacrifices. Finding out, checking in with your gut. Are you here for the long haul? Talking to your partner, your spouse, your family. Making sure they're on board. What if they're not? Do you really want to disrupt your family? And Joe even said on Sunday or Saturday, If you don't have your family behind you, maybe you shouldn't be doing this because you don't want to disrupt your family, right? And if you're not committed to using the products, if you're not committed to being there 100%, maybe it would be easier on you if you went and did something else. So the ability to make sacrifices, to have loyalty, were just huge pieces from Joe, and this is from Dexter. Respect for your leaders. Respect for the leaders on your team, the person who brought you in, whether you think they're doing what they're supposed to be doing or not, and we're guilty of that too. Edify them. They're here because you're here because they asked you to be here. There's something about whatever you appreciate appreciates. You want people to edify you and hold you up and build, then edify your people, edify your upline, edify your downline, edify the company, edify the Chairman Joe, edify Randy and Steinway and our entire executive team, all of our products. Guys, there is a process and a system that includes gratitude, that includes appreciation, that isn't separate from when you meditate or pray in the morning. It's actually part of your success and how you live during the day. Okay? Trust. How about trust? Trust your upline. Trust your team. We went through a process this weekend of trusting everybody in the room. There was 47 leaders there. Half of the room was Chinese, and a good chunk of them didn't speak any English. And so when Chinese speakers got up, we'd have to put the little earphones on so we could hear the translation. And when someone in English spoke, they'd have to put it on. But there was this commonality. There was this, even though we're still on the ViiVa team, but we're on different, downlines. We found them to be very open, to be very, they're really warm people and open to a hug and they're just as self-conscious as any of us, and not knowing and not, you don't know the culture, but it's okay. They're human beings, right? They're just human beings. And so we came together this weekend as a leadership group, whether we speak the same language or not, and we came together over a system and over a culture. And that's really what I see this system as, is a culture, okay? So being trust, you got to have that if you want to be in business and grow big. You want to receive trust, you got to give trust. Perseverance, staying with it, 5 years conversation, you got to stay with it, right? Check in. Anyway, attitude, how's your attitude? You attract into your life, that's what you put energy and focus into. And if you want to create results coming back, focus on all the good things in life. Focus on the good things you see. Find the best in other people. This is basic business stuff, and we hear about it all the time, but it's actually part of the system because it works. And it creates, the third most read book on the planet is Think and Grow Rich. The first one's the Bible, the second's the Quran, the third is Think and Grow Rich. Okay? Number 7 in Dexter Yeager's is a system. He said any successful company and any successful entrepreneur have one thing in common, and that is a system. Whether they created it or they're following it from someone else, if you don't have a system, there is a huge chance you will find yourself in a group of over 95% of the people who struggle in this business or any business. Take a look at your own business for the last year, 2 years, 3 years. Look at the other stuff you've done. Has it been a struggle financially? Maybe there hasn't been a system for you. I'm going to say that it's probably the truth, right? I know it is for us. Honesty is another one. I'm not going to go to all of these. Promotion, strategy. And so Joe took that system and created 3 different billion-dollar companies. And so what we learned this weekend was, a lot of it was the functional logistical stuff, right? Hey, Lyria. A lot of that, the functional stuff. But a lot of it was the cultural stuff. So let's talk about the red tie. You saw pictures this weekend, there's a red tie, right? What's that all about? Well, number one, you saw it from the leaders who were there. We've bought into the system already, okay? And wouldn't you like to have, so let's say Darlene is doing an event in California and you got a friend you want to send there. And Rich Schaefer flew down to Florida, he's doing an event down there. And you got somebody else from the company or whatever doing an event up in Illinois. Wouldn't you, just like McDonald's, just like Planet Fitness, just like any of these other franchises, wouldn't you like that person, that people that you sent to these different places to hear the same thing, to see the same thing, to get the same sense of culture, of honesty, of respect, of all of those things, to give them the highest chance of actually succeeding. Right? So the leadership in this company, both at corporate has blue ties, and the field, we go with red ties. Now I got to be blunt with you. Last Tuesday, we got an email from company saying, hey, we recommend that you have a white shirt and a red tie and a dark suit. Well, I got rid of all my suits 15 years ago. I don't have a white shirt, and I didn't have any red ties. I had a couple purple ones for ViiVa, right? And I started going, why do I have to dress like that? I'm 62 years old. I know how to dress, right? And then I started realizing that, you know what, there is, thank you, Roxy, building community of people who have culture. That's really, she's made it simple. She put in fewer words. Stop doing that. But isn't that what it is? So the leadership, and you don't have to dress this way, but we're going to have our business meetings will be business, right? Our trainings will be business. There are certain extra, what do women wear? A nice business suit. It doesn't have to, it's not a red tie. We don't have that. Some of the ladies were talking about, black heels and like that, but just looking presentable, looking like we're there for business. Would you trust somebody dressed in a suit more than you would in flip-flops and a cutoff? Probably the average person does, because we make a judgment within 2 or 3 seconds of seeing somebody before they ever open their mouth. So culture is huge, and Joe understands that. We had 2 speakers on the stage that Joe brought with him from that. Oh, by the way, Joe has a place in China. He has 100 cars and all this other little fun stuff. And he actually shared with us that he'd been feeling like a failure because he wasn't spending enough time with his family. And so when he moved here to the States, he has apparently a beautiful place. I assume a beautiful place there in California. He wanted to spend more time with his family. So he divested himself of a couple hundred companies he had owned, from helicopter charter business to a lot of different things, so he could be more present to his family. And honestly, when he talked with Steinway and said, geez, I'd like to kind of do something to keep my hands in it. And that's when the idea of ViiVa came up a year or so ago. And he has just finished divesting himself. He's always been sort of in the background. It's been a little secret. We got this Chinese investor. It always felt a little odd. Now he's divested himself enough, but just the rules in China are very different. And you get to a certain size and the government owns your business, and just stuff we don't deal with here. But it got to the point that he's now stepping out, using his face, using his name, and out there, okay? So that's why you're seeing such a big shift. And he told his wife and checked in with her and said, hey, we got young kids. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it in a small way, but I want to keep my hands in this for the next 5 years and grow this business. And she said, fine, I will support that. So I wanted to give you a little bit of the story of how we came to it. So culture is important. It's how you show yourself. Amway used to do that. I remember the first Amway meeting I went to, and Amway was funny. They wouldn't tell you what you're going to. I'll pick you up at 6:30. Have a nice suit on. You're like, what are we doing? I'll tell you when we get there. There was always that hush-hush. But all the people in Amway, they'd show up at the meeting in a suit. The women would be dressed very nicely in a business suit, no high dresses, the lower dresses, really. It was that way because they knew they were building a culture and building a business. Okay, so the systems that we have here, they're going to be, you get some of them in your back office right now. A lot of the training is starting to show up, but the entire system called V System, V stands for ViiVa, is another company that Joe started that's just going to support the training piece of ViiVa. He put an offer, I don't think he got the building, he put an offer on an $18 million building, 40,000 square feet in California a couple of weeks ago, to house this new company whose sole mission is to be responsible for the training of you and your downline, to provide it, right? By the way, Dexter Yeager back in the day had 100 to 200 people. They weren't doing Amway, they were just doing his training business and making sure everybody got what they wanted. What the kids and he started, they took care of that. Joe in China had 300 to 500 that were doing just handling the training piece. And so he set that up here. So he's already putting in a bunch of money. He knows how to do it, and we're going to have this system that's in place. So last week, in my whole idea of why do you have to buy a red tie, and all that stuff, I decided before I left, I said, I'm going to buy it. We've had some success here, not at the level that Joe and I have wanted, honestly. And a lot of it is we've not had a system. So when we were sitting with Joe and through Steinway, who's interpreting, he said, we're open to hear of any things you'd like for us to change. And the thought occurred to me, what idea could I come up with? And how arrogant would it be if I did? To say, no, I don't think we should wear jackets, or I think we, and I told him, I said, I'm not going to be arrogant. What I'm going to do is follow your system. And we're going to work this till you hit your goal. And his goal is $3 billion in 5 years. And I told him our goal was to make at least $1 million a month in that 5th year, and to be at that level. And that's possible. See what happened to me at this event. And by the way, we offered that we're going to bring 300 people to this launch event in October. So I'm counting on it. Joy and I are counting on you guys. Trust what you're hearing. Trust Joy and I. Trust your leadership. And let's figure out a way to get you to the event. Okay? You can change your life. We'll talk about that in a minute too. Oh shoot, I just lost what I was thinking about. That's okay. Let me talk about this. There's so many ways I can run with this, guys. You know what everybody says, if they could only be there in the beginning? Oh, hey Clarice, hope you're safe down there in the Bahamas. People say, it's always really important to get in at the very beginning, right? Which is actually kind of true when you think about it, because the people that were there at the beginning, they seem to always eventually have the biggest teams. Well, we're at the beginning. Joe said he wants 1,200 people in the October launch event. They've already sold 600 tickets. There was somebody in that room, a Chinese gentleman, that wrote a check for $10,000 and bought 100 tickets to the event. I'm going to talk about something that'll shake your belief system. And I'm looking at him going, there's belief, right? There's belief. So we're going to talk about this over the next few days, and I actually have set up another website to train people on how to increase themselves for the launch and like that, another Facebook group, and I'll show that in a minute. So I've talked plenty about systems and like that. Let's see what time, and I'm running long. Oh well. I think I learned that from everybody this weekend, both the U.S. team and the. Oh, I want to tell you this. A couple of the guys that Joe was working with in China, who are now part of the V systems, they help them fund that. One of them was worth about $40 million, the other was worth about $80 million. And they follow Joe's system. And they talk the same way Joe did. I mean, I understand the words, but it was all about gratitude. It was all about seeing the positive in things. It was all about edifying Joe. And this one guy was like, I owe my life to Joe. I started out, both of them very, very poor, dirt poor. And all of a sudden, he went under Joe's wing, and he started following what he was being told, and he started creating success. It was fascinating to hear these guys. It wasn't about go out there and push people and get them to join and all that. It was about being loving. It was about sharing. It was about gratitude, appreciation, being the right person, going through personal growth. Part of the system is you studying, not just the business, but personal growth. Every time Joy and I set a goal, we don't jump on the phone and call people. We go to our self-help books. We go to Think and Grow Rich. We go to things that inspire us. For some of you, it may be the Bible. But something that inspires us. Because the more you grow, the more attractive you are to bring in other people. I've got a theory, and I call it the hierarchy of leadership, right? From a 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, and 1. And this is a leadership scale. So up at top, that's an amazing leader. Maybe it's a Joe. Maybe it's a Gandhi. Maybe it writes, really, really up there. And down at the bottom is somebody that nobody would follow, right? They have no belief in themselves. Let's just say, and I'm not saying this is what you are, but let's say you're a level 5 leader, okay? If you're a level 5, meaning you have some skills, and most people do, but you have some skills, people that are 1s, the 2s, the 3s, and the 4s are going to look up to you, because they have less skills, right? Since they have less skills, you're going to look like more of a leader to them. Now, the people that are going to crush and grow your business in network marketing or anything else are going to be 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. You walk into a room, they're not even going to notice you because they're resonating at a 7 or 8 or 9 and you're resonating at a 5. How does that connection happen? Here's how it happens. It's through self-growth. Are you spending 30 minutes a day reading Think and Grow Rich? Are you spending 30 minutes and taking on those attitudes, not just reading it like, oh, that was a good book, but actually applying it? Are you reading, there's another one, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, written back in the early, mid-60s, late 60s, Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz wrote that one. These are books that change people's lives. And if you get yourself in there, I've read the Think and Grow Rich 7 times, right? Okay, so self-growth. So the more you grow, let's say you grow and you start acting and feeling and resonating like a 7 out of 10 leader. Guess what? The 6s are going to start noticing you. So are the 5s. Does your team grow? Yes. Do you attract better leaders? Yes. So if you want to get to work on growing your business, you got to get to work on yourself. There's no other way around it. Okay? So let's chat about that. So that was just a little aside. No, I'm not using my hand. I've got, it's Mr. Clean. I just cut them and slice them thin, and it does these whiteboards so nice. So let's talk about dreams, okay? There's really 4 or 5 different areas of your life, and I want to get you guys to start dreaming bigger, right? Joseph, free are free. When's the last time you dreamed? I mean, big dreams. Not, I hope I can get over to, I hope I can make it to the store. I hope I make it through the day, right? But I mean big dreams. And what kind of areas do you have your dreams in? Now, in this industry, we talk a lot about financial. And that's one piece. But if you're just doing just financial, you're sort of a lopsided individual, right? So one part might be financial. Another part could be your body, your health. Another one could be a mindset. You could have one in relationships. What else? Spiritual. However you define that. Maybe this is a primary relationship, maybe the rest is family. And I don't mean just have a goal of this is what I want in a relationship. Have a goal of this is what I want, this and now this is who I need to become to have that. Most people make a list, but they don't change who they're being to attract that person or attract that relationship or attract that money, the health, the mindset, the spiritual, the family. They don't go to work on themselves and they go, well, goals don't work. They actually do, but you got to change who you're being, right, to be able to get that. So what are your financial goals? You know, we started off the weekend, I was thinking, you know, it was possible. I thought it was a possibility to make $1 million in a year in this industry. By Saturday, my days are so messed up right now. That was the first day was Friday. So I guess by Friday night, it moved from 1 million a year, it moved to being possible to 1 million a month, because there's people in the room doing that. It's like back in, what year was it? Late 50s, early 60s, when Roger Bannister, the runner, broke the first man to break the 4-minute mile. Once he did, which scientists said that'll never happen, the body can't take it, there's not enough lung capacity, there's not pumping enough blood, blah, 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 blah. After he did it, there was like 30 other people that hit that's next year, right? So once you know somebody's doing it, you're like, well, he's a nice guy, but I can do that, right? So it went from possible 1 million a year, well, actually possible 1 million a month, and then it shifted, hanging around, growing, hearing about what it takes to be successful, to being probable, right? So from possible is like, well, anywhere from 0, well, actually not even 0, 1% up to maybe 49%. Well, everybody says, well, it's possible, right? Okay, it's possible. Probable, though, it means it's going to happen. It's like, that's like 51% and more, right? It's probable, right? And then you have another level called inevitable. Oh, I'm not going to try to do it. Right? Inevitable, where it's over You start acting and being the result right now today, and things start showing up because all of a sudden you're playing at a level 10, and people start responding to that, and people start responding. When Joy and I are focusing on our goals and creating and becoming better people show up and ask us if they can join our team. They call us. It's the craziest thing in the world. And when we're not focused on improving ourselves, we can't give stuff away. Explain that one to me. I think I am. Right? So when it moves from possible to probable, so my goal went from 1 million a year to 1 million a month. And being there in 5 years. What's your financial goal? What do you really, really want? Not what you really, really think. But what would you want financially? And it's not subject to anything else. It's not subject to this. Maybe it's ViiVa, maybe it's not, maybe whatever. But what's your real goal? What do you want to be earning 5 years from now? What can you get your head wrapped around? You may not get your head wrapped around on $1 million a year. Maybe you can. Roxy, $500,000 a year. Right on. I'd see you doing that. Right? What's your goal? Not your small goal, not the one you tell people because you're afraid to step up and step out and say, here's who I am. But what's your real goal? So Roxy's at $500,000. Awesome. What's your health goal? Is it to be in shape? My goal for years was to always look ripped. Never quite got there because the most important thing for me was just to be healthy. So could I stand to lose 15, 20 pounds? Yeah. Am I pretty damn healthy? Yeah. I feel good about that. I work out 5 times a week for about 25 minutes or so. I go to the gym to do body parts. That's super stuff for me. Drinking more water, taking care of myself better, not drinking alcohol, having a beer once in a while, just little things, all under health. How do I want to get better? How do I want to be more available at night to talk to people when you want to grow and have them connect with me? I don't want to have a drink in me. I want to talk to your people and have to grow. Mindset. What kind of mindset do you want? What's that look like? Who are you going to hang around? What are you going to say? Maybe what relationships you're going to leave because they don't support that. This is like the most important things you can look at in your life. And when was the last time you did? Spiritual. What does that mean? How are you giving back? Family. How does that go? The relationship. What's that all about for you? I want you to spend some time on these. Because when you're working on these, your business will start doing this. Any business that you're in. When you're working on these and you're growing, the law of attraction says whatever you focus and put your energy on, whether you want it or not, is going to begin attracting those like feelings and like energy and that into your life. So one thing is, what are your goals in these areas? And then number 2, how do these make you feel? Because your body, your mind, the universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your feelings. Okay? How do you feel making, Roxy, since you had the cojones and throw it out there, how does it feel making $500,000? Imagine that. Imagine how that feels. Imagine you being in that, right? It's the feeling of that that draws it to you, that connects with that. How does it feel to be at that weight you want to be at? To be at that, you want to drop all the crap you see on TV and all the magazines. If you're a woman, it's got to be some stick figure and all that. But what do you really want to be? What's that for you? Not some image that society has or anybody else has. What do you want, right? Same with your mindset. Start practicing seeing the positive, pointing out positive things to people. Do 5 a day, do 10 a day. You're going to start to see people coming back to you, right? Relationship, spiritual. So it's not just having the goal. You need the goal, but you need to identify the feeling and then spend time in that feeling. Roxy said joyous. That's a great feeling. That's a great feeling. Feeling joyous to have this result. You need to spend a few minutes a day. At least a few minutes a day. I do it when you get up, and I would do it right before you go to bed. That's when you're in your alpha state. You're not really into theta. You're not like full-blown awake, and your body and your subconscious is still open to hearing suggestions. If you start just a few minutes in the morning and the evening, it'll make drastic, it'll make drastic Well, listen, now who's saying that to it? Hey, Richard, don't change somebody else's goal. You don't have to go with somebody else's goal. So 500,000 is a hell of a goal. So we're going to work where somebody is, and we're going to help to expand, but we're going to start with what that is, okay? Cool. Yeah, there are no wrong answers. There may be answers that you can expand on and make bigger and make your goals bigger and all that stuff. Super. Let me tell you how important it is to get to the event, okay? How about another color? You guys enjoying this? Making any sense? Hope so. So you always hear that, oh yeah, you got to get in early to make the money. The people that got in early, somehow we say it like they had an unfair advantage, right? Because, well, they got in early. That's why they're doing well. And honestly, I'm going to tell you, that's part of it. They had a chance for that to compound, right? Over and over a 3 to 5 year period. So you got to commit to being here 3 to 5 years. That's number one. But it is pretty true that if they're here earlier, they're going to have a bigger organization. Because what's going to happen is, and when Rich and I were talking, what happens those first couple of years as the company gets going, and then it hits this point where it goes into momentum. And when it goes into momentum, you have an explosive growth of income. That usually happens if it's done right in the first 3 to 5 years. Then it rounds out and goes into a stability mode. Stable, right? Here's momentum. Here's formulation, where they're figuring everything out. Here's concentration. By the way, guys, we're right in this area right here. What we're going to see here really quickly is turning into momentum. That's where the explosive growth is, okay? So, we were talking with Joe. He said the same thing to Joy and I as he did to Rich. And I said, hey, we're going to bring 300 people here. Okay? Thank you, Bruce. Dreams are free. Why not make them huge? Make them big, right? They inspire you. They get you to move. They get you out of your normal mindset of, oh, everyone tries to do goals incrementally. It's like, well, I'm making, for example, I've made, and this has been proven over and over, I'm making 40,000 a year. Yeah, next year I'd like to do 10% more, 44,000. Do you know it's actually easier to double your income than it is to increase it in a small way? It's actually easier to double it. And there's been studies. There was this one salesperson that the company put into I think it was insurance sales, put into a horrible territory. And this guy ended up doing fantastic. It was way back in the 60s. And he was making, 40, 50,000 a month. And they're like, this guy's a superstar. Why don't we put him in a good sales territory? They put him in a good sales territory, and this guy should have tore it up, and he still made 40 to 50,000 a year. Because his mindset, he didn't see any beyond 40, 50,000 a year. It didn't matter where he went. He was going to stay at that level. And if you notice, if your income or your success in this industry has always plateaued at a certain level, ours has at certain levels, then that's a mindset. That's not the outside of you, right? It's not outside of you. It's something you control. So let's say if it is true, and I think it is, that the people who get there early make more money. So Chairman Joe, I said we'll bring 300 people from our team. Now we didn't think we had to bring them individually. I know Richard was telling me today when Joe asked him, he's thinking, geez, I'll bring 25 or 30. And Joe said, hey, make it 100. I'll challenge you to 100. And Rich said, I'm not going to say no to this guy. But the team, right? But let's just bring some, now 300, you can go, oh, but yeah, it's you, Dave, and Joy, and you've been hanging around for a couple of years and blah, and all that stuff, right? And I get that. But let me put some numbers. If the goal is $3 billion in 5 years, and you've agreed to stay here for 5 years, right? Let's say, so we're going to have 1,200 people at the event, okay? Let's say at this launch, you just want 1% of the company, okay? 1%. That means you would have to bring 12 people. You may be thinking, what the hell? That's nothing. I mean, what's that going to do, right? Well, look at this. If you had 1% of 1,200, that's 12 people at the event, and let's just say they stayed. I know it's not a perfect and everything. Some people will stay, some will go, other people will come. But if the discussion is people do better if they get there early, right? Which is, I think is true. What if you had 1% of $3 billion in 5 years in sales, right? That would be 30 hold on, I got to do a few more zeros, $30 million. And let's say that's dollars in gross, and the company's paying out about half in commissions, and they are. You're looking at about 15 million. And if you get paid, let's just do team bonus at 10%. That's the binary, right? Let's just do team bonus at 10%. That's 1.5 million. Year number 5, and you came in and brought 12 people. Now, if you want to cut that in half and say that's too hard, I'm just going to bring 6 to the event. That could translate into $750,000 in the year, in the 5th year. You want to cut it down again, 375. Listen, guys, there is something about understanding how this thing moves. Now, I'm not saying these 12 people are all going to stay. That would not be a realistic conversation, would it? I'm not saying these 6 people are going to stay. What I'm saying is if the conversation that has some validity, the people that get in first end up making the big money, there's a reason that happens, okay? There's a chance for compounding. There's a chance for building your business. Real quick story. There was this dying father who brought his 2 sons in and said, I'll give you 2 options. I will give you, option number 1 would be I'll give you $1 million today. Or option number 2, I'll give you a penny, 1 cent per day, and I'll double it every day for 30 days. I'll double it. The one son who just was thinking a little short term said, I want the million now, baby. Give it to me now. What's this penny talk? The other son sat there and thought about it. He said, no, Dad, I'll take the 1 cent a day for 30 days. Now, if you look at this and you actually work the numbers out, I don't have it in front of me, but I don't think here's what the numbers do. So on day 1, you have 1 cent, right? 0.01. Day 2, he doubles it, 0.02. Then it goes to 0.04. Then it goes to 0.08. Hell, by day 15, you're only sitting on about $163. By day 30, because you've allowed it to compound, which Einstein said the compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. You allow it to compound, you're left in 30 days with over $5.3 million. Are you here for 5 years? Will you join Joy and I for 5 years? Will you trust us? Is it going to take some growth? Yeah. Is it going to take trusting in the team? Yes. Is it going to take trusting in our new system? Yes. Is it going to take getting used to seeing me in with a red tie? Yes. Yes. Because we bought in. We jump in. One of Joy and I's, the success we've had is we don't sit around and talk about it. We get into action. We get into action. And I'm going to invite you to get into action and decide. You can decide right now. Are you coming to the event? Will you be one of our 300? Can we count on you? And if you need to spend some time on your goals first, I get that. Now, here's what we got going, and we're going to close this call out. We have set up another Facebook group called Team ViiVa Launch. The Team ViiVa Launch group is for those of you who have purchased your ticket. Here's what they look like. Okay. The price on the ticket for the month of September is you get 3 tickets for $200. Now, the Eventbrite website only shows 1. I talked to Randy and Reggie. They're not in the office today. And both of them said, no, they will get 3 tickets. But they're going to change it on the website also. Okay. So $200, 3 tickets. Okay. In October 1st through the 18th, it's going to be $100 a ticket. So if you want to join, get your tickets. Go ahead and pay for it. We had a couple of handfuls of people buy today. We all had considerations. Every one of them was like, well, I couldn't, I shouldn't, I didn't. Hey, you're either in or you're not, right? You want to go after this or you don't, so do a gut check. Make sure you're where you need to be. You don't want to start this if you're halfway. I'm going to suggest you don't. But if you know you want to create results, if you haven't gotten what you've wanted, so far in life, the way you've wanted it, the way in that deep little tiny voice you have inside of you, maybe it's in your heart, you feel it, that says, I know I can create something. I can be, for me, a lot of it's about significance. To help enough people to feel like I've done something, wow, I get emotional, to done something in this world. That's important. What's it for you? So, whoever buys a ticket, or the groups of tickets, 3 tickets, you can buy more. Again, there was one guy that wrote a check for 10 grand, about 100 tickets last weekend. They were at a different price, but 100 tickets. Get yourself in and then go to Team ViiVa launch and ask to be part of that group. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, 8 or 8:30, I'll set it up in there. We're going to teach how to drive people to your event. We're going to talk about how to set more dreams and how to translate your dreams, your feelings, a little bit of what we talked about tonight, but a bit more in depth. Translate your dreams into feelings, and then how to use this event to blast off your business and really change your life. Okay? So thank you so much for being on here. I know it's Labor Day. We had some folks here from the Bahamas watching. So God bless you guys. You've been in our prayers. We've seen some pictures from Abaco. I can't believe the destruction. It's just really sad. So just know that we're with you and we're part of you and we're part of your team. And prayers to you. So guys, that's what I've got for you tonight. I hope you found that insightful, inspiring. I'm going to click through. Hey, Larry, you are welcome. You deserve it. Roxy, thanks for participating and being out there. I appreciate you. Richard, always appreciate you. Yeah, cool stuff. Guys, that's what I got. It went a little bit longer than I planned, but oh well. So, have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your evening. Hopefully you'll sign up for our other Facebook group by buying your ticket, and we're going to do some training tomorrow night, as we will from now on. This for the people that are going after the business. And if you're going to attend the event, I'm assuming you're going after the business. You're going to be one of the leaders. Okay? So we're going to treat you that way, and if you'll start acting that way, you'll start getting the leader's results, which is what you want, right? Have a fabulous rest of your evening. You absolutely deserve it. Bye for now. Thank you.